Welcome to the wunderschöne residence of the German ambassador to Korea, sitting high above the neighborhood of Songbukdong in Seoul. When you think of Germany, what comes to mind? Beer, autobahns, maybe Berlin's nightlife, or its history of division and reunification?
Tear down this wall.
But what exactly does a country like Germany have in common with South Korea? And how does the German ambassador see life here in Seoul? I came to his residence to ask him myself, and later he will also show me his favorite place in the city. I'm here with German ambassador Schmidt.
Hello.
And we're standing in the garden of his residence in the neighborhood Songbukdong. What a nice place.
Oh, it's a fantastic place, and it's a place that comes to life when we have visitors. We have about more than 1,000 visitors every year who come here and enjoy this beautiful setting. And what I like a lot is basically it's German architecture of the 1970s.
Oh, really?
But you see, like, we have a lot of Korean elements, a Korean garden. We want to sort of make the best out of both worlds.
What brought you to Korea?
I was always interested in Asia. In my career, my diplomatic career, I've always had posts in Asia or in Africa. So I was very excited when Korea worked out for me, because it's a country that I was interested for a long time. My first visit here was actually in 1987.
Yes. You
as a
told me
tourist,
earlier.
so that's quite something. And I've been here before also on official business from Germany, so it was a fantastic chance to live here and experience the place.
We're in the neighborhood Songbukdong. It's a nice neighborhood. I live quite nearby. What's life like here?
We have about 40 residences here of ambassadors. Here, traffic is more difficult, like if you want to go downtown, and it's always a fitness program. If I want to go and get some bread, I have to walk down and then walk up again. But we have the immense privilege of having this view of actually being able to go hiking right behind here. There are the hiking paths into the Bukaksan National Park.
Right, yeah.
So that's fantastic. And I often joke, like, we have Gilsangsa down the road and we have Tombopsa
Oh yeah, the other temple
on the
down
other
there.
side.
Yes.
And in the evening you hear the gongs, gong, gong. So I sometimes say, this is our temple stay.
After some time in Korea, is there any food or Korean food that you particularly love a lot?
I really enjoy all the little namul dishes. Why do I say that? Because, like, if I look at other foods and other culinary, they focus only on the main dishes. But I think the Korean cuisine makes something very special out of each individual namul. And then to see how they're assorted and how they complement the other dishes and how their tastes are being brought up, this is something I feel is special in Korean food.
Of course, while I'm here, I had to take a little peek around the residence. I mean, how often do you get the chance? Places like this always have a few stories hidden around.
This is my favorite tree in the residence. I think it's
All right.
fantastic. Just look at it. It's a beauty in itself.
It's beautiful.
I can just continue to look at it all the time. I love the landscape gardening. It's very nice. I can show you one little interesting feature here. This is our residence Mugunghwa, and this was planted in October 24 to remember like 50 years of German-Korean Forestry cooperation. After the Korean War, all the forests were down. There was a very close and intense cooperation between German foresters and Korean foresters. It's one of the success stories that we're quite proud of. And now Korea is actually exporting the way to reforest also to other countries.
The real entrance, we started in the garden.
The real entrance and the real thing, the most photographed pictures in the residence are the football clubs where we have Korean players.
That is awesome.
We're excited. This is from Bayern Munich, of course, with Kim Min-jae. Then you have here Borussia Dortmund and Stuttgart. And just the other day we had Jens Kastrup as a special guest in the residence.
Okay, so there will be a fourth frame.
I asked him for a ticket from Mönchengladbach. It would work.
Nice.
Yeah. What else do we have? We have a space which I like a lot. This is the library, but it's not only a library, it's also, we use it as a winter garden for spices and other plants. They're not in the best shape now. And the library is used for instance, when we have a reception, and we have guests already waiting in there, and then we have a VIP guest, or you need to do something, or when we have a concert, then the musicians can use it to sort of retreat.
Germany's reunification in 1990. Do you think that had an influence on Germany's relationship with Korea?
Definitely.
Yes?
So even until now, until 2025, I'm constantly asked to compare Korea's experience with Germany's experience. Now, I can't give the Koreans advice, do this, do that. It's their country, it's their culture. culture. But of course, they looked at German unification. I think probably no other country has studied German reunification as much as Korea, maybe with the exception of North Korea. I'm quite sure that they also checked very carefully what's happened and how it happened. How do you merge two armies? How do you deal with economic problems with currency mergers? How do you deal with, for instance, the files of the former secret police, the Stasi files? So there has been a very intense discussion between Korea and Germany in the follow-up of the reunification. From our present perspective, I think it's very important to study the period when West and East Germany were locked in a very bitter confrontation. Now, how did we come to a point that we say, despite all the differences, we need peaceful coexistence?
An interesting piece of history between both nations goes back to the early 1960s, when the Park regime dispatched around 20,000 Korean miners and nurses to West Germany. The goal was to secure foreign funding and build international ties, while Germany, at the same time, was in need of skilled labor and qualified medical staff. Decades later, in the early 2000s, the Namhae German village was created in southern Korea, offering those Korean gastarbeiters a place to return to if they wished. It's also a good place to sniff some German culture.
What is the message of this today? I have a lot of respect for the hard work and dedication of those Koreans. They participated in our miracle of the Rhine River. Many people talk about the miracle on the Han River, the miracle on the Rhine River. They are connected. But it's more than that. It's a connection that shows that you use the word Gastarbeiter, guest worker.
Yes.
So the idea is that a person works as a guest and then returns to his home. But many of them decided to make Germany their home. And the second generation are fully fluent in German and in Korean. They have one leg in the German culture, one leg in the Korean culture. And they're an incredibly important connector. And I think this is a strong lesson for Korea today. You have many Gastarbeiter in Korea today, many people who work here.
Is the German community big in Korea?
We have between 3,000 and 4,000. But what I feel is much stronger even is, look at all the numbers of Koreans who actually studied and lived in Germany. And it's from all walks of life. People who learned how to bake German bread in Germany, and they come back with this knowledge. So there's a huge group of Koreans who know Germany and who bring Korea, or a bit of what they like from Germany, back into Korea.
There's a really good cultural exchange.
It is, and it works the other way around. Many people don't know that Germany is actually the country with most of the Koreans in Europe.
Now it's time to visit the ambassador's favorite place in the city. Along the way, we talk about how the technologies of both countries intertwine, often without people even realizing it.
There's a lot of values that are interlinked. One example, in every Mercedes, there's a lot of Korean technology in it. The whole this display technology, Mercedes has Korean partners in it. So from the outside, it looks like a German product, but from the inside, it's a mix of value chains. And that's the same the other way around. A lot of Korean products are built with a lot of German know-how in the production chain.
Have you been at this tree in spring with the cherry blossoms? This is the best place.
It's fantastic.
It is beautiful.
I like it much better than actually going down to Hangang because it's never super crowded.
Hangang is always.
And here then it
And
reminds
they're
me.
so big, there's so many trees, yeah. Yep.
The ambassador actually has not one, but two favorite places. And the first one happens to be one I like too, the Songbukjeon, the Songbuk stream.
We're at the Songbukjeon, one of the streams, and this is one of your favorite places.
It is. It's a wonderful place for a weekend walk. I think it's so nice, the idea that you transform this place into something where people can relax, people can walk. And I like walking a lot in Korea because you can smell, you can explore places at your own pace, and you move around a bit. It's good. And this stream is nice. You see the birds, even you have waterfowl here. And it's nice changing with the seasons. Spring blossoms is fantastic.
These trees over here, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I know, yeah.
To me, it's much nicer than the Hangang. So. What I really enjoy also about Korea is that they have these fitness machines everywhere. We don't have that in Germany. We have dedicated fitness clubs or smaller places, but to have these machines everywhere so that people can exercise, they can stay, they can linger a bit, and they're in a very good shape. They're modern, they're clean. So I think this is something I'd love to see more in Germany.
And I wish I could see it more in the Netherlands.
Yeah, so I mean, just something simple like this. If you sit here, you can walk and then just do a couple of things here.
Stay in shape?
Stay in shape. No, it's not super shape, but if you do that all the time, every day a little bit, it's good. And this is fantastic because you use your own weight. So everybody can do that.
I know.
It's quite simple. So. I think the Seoul bus lanes are fantastic.
Yeah.
You just zoom by, there's a traffic jam on the one side, and you zoom by. You can use the climate card. I think it's wonderful when people explain to me that the Kihu Tongheng card is actually inspired by the Germany, the Deutschland ticket. So it encourages like mobility. It's good to get from A to B.
The ambassador's second favorite place is not far from the stream, and it's a local market called Donam.
Why do I like markets? I like it because you can smell the food, you can touch the things, you can try out new things. I'm not a big kupang shopper.
Oh no.
Different from many others. Kupang might be very useful for many people. If markets completely disappear, markets like this and others, they're just much more like shopping.
Yes.
If you look at it, markets are places that people also meet up. And for many old people, this is the time where they meet, where they can talk, where they can chat. Try to imagine a city without markets, a city without retailers. It would be very different.
Oh yes.
So just to keep the markets alive. And I think for me as a non-Korean, it's always fascinating to see the variety of product, the range of products, the way they're being presented. So I think just walking here, you can't see on the video, but just the smell is so nice.
You can smell it, huh?
You walk past a different stand and you can smell this, you can smell that.
While we're at the market, I wanted to ask about German techno. I know Korea has intangible cultural heritage like the Jeju Hanyo or traditional wrestling, Sidam. But Germany has Berlin's techno scene on the same list. That's so cool. As a techno lover myself, I'm happy that Korea also has an underground scene.
German techno was declared intangible cultural heritage by UNESCO, so that means something, and it's more than the music. It's a safe space that respects diversity. To me, that's a message that reverberates much beyond just music. You might like the music, you might not like the music, but to have a space where people can express themselves and feel safe regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, that is quite something. We as an embassy, we had an invitation in the Faust Techno Club. Impressive, a Korean DJ, but the first Korean DJ who actually also worked in Berghain, the famous Berlin club.
All right.
So it was a bit unusual, but I think that's the nice thing, to just do different things. Everybody knows Bach, everybody knows Beethoven, everybody knows Schumann, but how many people are actually familiar with techno? The young generation? Yes, but not the older one. Yeah.
Do you like techno?
I think the music is okay. I prefer other music, but I like the idea of the style.
After the Second World War, West Germany couldn't support Korea militarily. It didn't even have an army, but they still found a way to help. Just 2 months before the armistice, they offered to send a field hospital. From 1954 to 1959, it treated nearly 300,000 patients and delivered more than 6,000 babies.
And interesting enough, some of the Korean nurses that were actually trained in that hospital in the 1960s then came to Germany. So here is a cycle again.
Full cycle.
That you help others and they help you, and I think that's part of the Korean-German story.
And finally, the question I always love to ask. What has impressed the ambassador most about Korea?
So what impresses me with the Korean people is their resilience in face of adversity. I mean, if I look at what this country was like after the Korean War and what Koreans have built in this country. And they haven't built it with a lot of resources. They've built it with their willpower, with hard work, and with discipline. And a lot of intelligence. So that is impressive. And also the will to go out, study from other places, and think like, oh, how can I take this back to my own country? How can I change this? And this is very impressive in Korea.
It was great to meet yet another ambassador, this time from Germany, and to learn about Germany's deeply rooted relationship with South Korea, and how both countries bring out the best in each other. My next meeting with an ambassador will be from Guatemala. And it won't be just an interview. I'll be flying there myself to visit Central America's largest gay town and explore deep into Maya territory. See you then. Houdoe.